know, and we all have our 15 minutes of fame, and I'd like to take a couple of my 15 minutes to talk about the rights and the wrongs in the world of professional wrestling.
And it is for the WWE Championship.
This match is for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship.
For the World Heavyweight Championship.
The match and new NWA Heavyweight Champion.
We appreciate you guys coming out and taking your time to support women's wrestling in America.
This match is for the AWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling Podcast. This is your host, Mr. Green, and we have got another full-on WoW review on deck. A review that features a pretty good match with a questionable ending, okay one, and a terrible one. But of course, we've got time to get to that. First, of course, my thanks for you guys tuning in and giving me your ear while I just kind of vent and rant and go on about some of the going-ons on that particular program. But also, as I talk about some of the things that go on in women's wrestling in general. And this apparently has been a fairly big week. But I guess we expect that these days. For after the rise of WrestleMania comes the fall of the releases, and we've got a couple of those. So before we go any further, let us prepare for the news, views, and updates. And, well, before we get into the releases and everything, let's hit a couple other key notes up along the way. Some of those things being our reigning, defending Knockouts champion has survived and defeated Tessa Blanchard in her previous match, and she has another one on the horizon. First off, I am going to applaud TNA for making what I would consider the right decision. Slamovich needs some wins. She needs some quality wins to express or build up who she is. I don't know if this next opponent is going to provide her that, but I am not going to dismiss it quite yet. Her next opponent, by the way, is Victoria Crawford. Now, for those of you who may not know or recognize that name, you might know her on the indies prior to this as Vix Crow. And if you don't know that name, then you definitely know her as Alicia Fox. Yes, I know Alicia Fox is not the name that you would think of when you think high-quality in-ring work. The reason why I said that I don't want to dismiss it quite yet is because I actually saw a match that she had with Mickie James. I think it was in Australia as Vix Crow, and she did a good job in that match. She was surprisingly good. And this could be the redefining of her career. That is, it's very possible. It could be the redefining of who she is and her career. Now, I don't know if she's going to be able to do it, but we pretty much could feel that this was around the corner because, hey, I doubt very seriously that she would have showed up on a TNA pay-per-view, which she did, cause a little bit of trouble, which she did, and not show back up eventually, which she is. So, at their, I guess is this a pay-per-view? It might be a TNA Plus exclusive. I do get those mixed up from time to time because having TNA Plus, it all kind of goes there, except that the pay-per-views take about 3 to 4 weeks. But it's Under Siege, and that'll take place on May the 23rd. So you do have that to look forward to. Vix Crow, or at least I should say Victoria Crawford, as they're going to refer to her there. And she is being accompanied by Robert Stone. You would remember him as Robbie E. Unless you're watching NXT, you would know him in his other guys. He has not been in a wrestling capacity in some time. He's more like a manager, in this case, a general manager. So we've got that to look forward to. I do know and see that they are somewhat, they being TNA, in a rebuilding phase of their Knockouts division. And considering the amount of talent that's kind of jumped up on the independent market or the freelance market, they may have their pick of the litter pretty soon. Who knows? On to the next thing. We had gone through the top 30 women wrestlers under 30 as listed by Diva Dirt. Now, part of the reason that I went through that list initially was out of morbid curiosity, to be honest with you. It was a little bit of morbid curiosity in that I wanted to see whether or not any name on WoW would be listed as one of their tops, because I'm pretty sure there's ladies there that are under 30. And no, not one. Now, that does not mean that there aren't talented people on that roster. And it is a list done by a website, so it's subjective. It'd be the same thing if I just turned around and I'm going to do my list of the top 30 under 30 and whatever. It's a subjective list. So, we could take that with a grain of salt. But at the same time, I, in my morbid curiosity phase, did check just because I said, WoW doesn't really get a lot of press overall. If they get talked about, period. And oftentimes, it seems like wrestling sites would be quicker to bring up Marigold and Stardom before they talk about anything that's going on in the WoW. But we got the full list now. Last time I went up to 11 because that was the cutoff point, and I left the top 10. But without reading the age that they are, let's go through the full list so you'll know who, by way of Diva Dirt, are the names top 30 under 30 as constructed by them. So, coming in at number 30, we'll start from the bottom, work our way to the top. Thea Hale from NXT. 29, Anna Jay from AEW. 28, Kenzie Paige from NWA. 27, Jada Parker from NXT. 26, Julia Hart from AEW. 25, Dani Luna from TNA. 24, Cora Jade from NXT. 23, Billy Starks from Ring of Honor. 22, Kiana James from WWE. 21, Gigi Dolan, NXT. Well, we'll get to that. 20, and if I'm pronouncing her name wrong or anybody else's, I apologize. AZM, Stardom. 19, Tatum Paxley, NXT. 18, Starlight Kid, Stardom. 17, Lash Legend, NXT. 16, JC Jane, NXT. 15, Momo Wanatabe, Stardom. 14, Kalani Jordan, NXT. 13, Sol Ruka, NXT. 12, Masha Slamovich, TNA. 11, Chris Statler under AEW. 10, Saya Kimatani from Stardom. But that was 10, sorry. 10, Saya Kimatani, Stardom. 9, Lyra Valkyria, WWE. 8, Sari. Was that Sukiban? I might be pronouncing that wrong. I don't even know if I've heard that promotion. Anyhow, moving on. 7, Mariah May, AEW. 6. Now this is going to be a hard one for me, so just bear with me. Utami Hayashida, Marigold. 5, Tiffany Stratton, WWE. 4, Roxanne Perez, NXT. 3, Jordan Grace, NXT. 2, Rhea Ripley, WWE. Number 1, Toni Storm, AEW. So that is the complete list that they have for their top 30 under 30. Do you think that they did a good job? Do you feel like they should have included some other names, perhaps on the indies? Do you feel like they should have looked at WoW? I mean, because it seems like more of these names are names that are listed from some level of mainstream promotion. Should they have had it? Should they have put this in or put in other names from other locations? Leave your comments below. Star power is the name of the game, and the WWE certainly knows how to create their stars. And despite what other promotions may tell you, I don't think anybody else has done it quite as well. And in this particular case, Liv Morgan has confirmed a movie role in The Bad Lieutenant Tokyo. Deadline shared the synopsis of the film, and it is listed as follows. Let me get down to this. Hold on a second. Written by Daisuke Tengen. I might be saying that all kinds of wrong, so just bear with me on that name too. And it's based on the IP first produced by Edward R. Pressman. The Bad Lieutenant Tokyo will follow the bad lieutenant, a corrupt gambler in the Metropolitan Police Force who finds himself thrown in a tangled case after an FBI and enigmatic, well, that was tough. FBI agent arrives in Tokyo to investigate the disappearance of a politician's daughter. That is supposed to be played by Morgan, the politician's daughter. Meanwhile, a deviant killer operating in the Yakuza underworld seems to be shadowing their moves. So, if that is the case and if she's getting this, that could be a big thing for her. It could be the bridge that she needs into further mainstream appeal. Especially if we, get a movie that is a hit. So, good luck for Morgan. And now, look, if she's the person that's being kidnapped, I'm not going to say that she doesn't need to act or act strongly, but I will say is the weight of the movie is probably not going to be on her, but it's not going to matter. If it is a big movie and it does well and she's in it, she will reap the benefits of being a part of that movie. It's amazing how, when you can build somebody up to a point that they have some star power and people actually would pay money to see them, how these offers and things just kind of start coming in. I realize that there are some out there that just feel like being a wrestler in and of itself is enough for you to start like padding your resume with. Nope, it don't work that way. Sorry, it'll help, sure, for some smaller scale things, but unless you got a name, unless you are somebody that has sold some crowd, some merchandise, got some eyes on the TV or something like that, you're less likely to get these type of things, less likely to get these type of roles because you just do not have the star power, as we said earlier. And now it is off to the unfortunate time of year that the WWE does this. Like I said, with the rise of WrestleMania comes the fall of the releases, and apparently we've got a couple of releases now. And I'll just go ahead and say Braun Strowman is on the list. This is his second release from WWE. I'll get that out of the way because the names that are mostly listed at this point are some of the young ladies that were there. And that includes Dakota Kai, Shayna Baszler, Katana Chance, and Kaden Carter. As of right now, those are the 5 that are listed as having been released. Now, I fully expect some of them to land on their feet if they choose to do it. Baszler is not going to shock me in the least if she just pops up and say GCW. It's not going to shock me if she pops up in TNA, quite honestly. But Carter and Chance, I don't know if Kaden, I don't know if she wants to keep going in wrestling. Which one was it that was on the American Ninja? That I can't. She had a longer name that shortened out here. But in either case, it wasn't like wrestling was her first choice in life. Not that that's a strike against her. But sometimes we do in WWE land get them to the point that when they get released out of WWE, they just don't want to wrestle anymore. We're just done. Although I do think the landscape has changed some. And if TNA were smart, at least they would make an overture towards them. I thought they were a good tag team. They were flashy enough to get some oohs and ahs out of the crowd. They've been doing this for a while so they could come in with some level of pedigree underneath them. And there's already a connective tissue to TNA to WWE in the first place. So if I am anybody that has been released that TNA is interested in, I'm probably looking to go there. Unless AEW is just going to toss stupid money at them to get them into their under their umbrella. Now, there's also 2 other names that have been released. Oh, well, no, I'm sorry. Not just 2, 3. Gigi Dolan and Cora Jade have also been released. And speaking of TNA, we've been seeing them there lately. So I don't think it's going to be hard to fathom that might be their landing spot. Jakara Jackson, also been released from WWE. They seem like they've been cleaning out their women's division off of NXT. I really wish that they didn't have to go through the spring cleaning thing all the time because they have so many people on their rosters. I mean, you look between Raw, SmackDown, NXT, now Evolve, and TNA is more or less morphing into a developmental for WWE, and then you got AAA that just got bought. They cover so much ground that when people do get released, if they can't get in with some of those other little places, they might just be done. Hopefully, they'll be able to, as I said, land on their feet and move on. But I do think that is going to take some of the shine off of Dolan and Jade if they were to go to TNA as a full-time act. That they don't have the aura of being a WWE talent crossing over. But I will also add this, and I am not wishing ill will on anybody or anything like that, but I have to be honest that I am completely shocked that Nikita Lyons isn't on that list. Nothing against her. I just, when they go through these things, you look at the people that just haven't been on TV in a while and haven't been used in any sort of significant way. I was more shocked that Dolan and Jade got cut just because they were doing the crossovers. I thought that alone would give them some kind of padding in that, hey, we can't use you here right now, but maybe we can just lend you out to our new partners. And until we get something else going, then, we can bring it back. and it looked like they were going to go potentially after the Knockouts Tag Team Championships. That could have been some interesting television if they had won it and gone back, or whatever the case may be. Because no one in this crossover universe has won the other person's championships yet. We gotta assume that it's going to happen at some point in time, but no one's done it yet. But I am legitimately shocked. Some of them, again, I fully expect to land on their feet if they continue to want to do this. Do I see any of them popping up in WoW? Probably not. I don't think that is going to be a good landing page for the bulk of who I've just listed off here. Although, you never know. But considering that most of them that I've named have already been on some level of national television, and I certainly don't mean this as any sort of detrimental comment towards Ashley Blaze, because she too was a former WWE star and she landed in WoW. The only difference is that she wasn't featured in the same way as Dolan, Jade, Chance, Carter, Jackson. She wasn't featured in the same way as Baszler, and Kai. She wasn't in that stratosphere quite yet. I don't know if she got the chance. She was essentially on one of their third string shows. So it's a little bit different. With these, it wouldn't shock me to see them pop up in an AEW or TNA, or NWA might be a little bit of a stretch, but and that's only because they don't have TV at all. I think most of what they do is just straight up on Twitter, or now known as X. But we'll keep our eyes out for it and check and see what that's going. Lastly, Nattie Neidhart continues to get my attention. She continues to make me interested. She has become the thing that has gotten me interested in seeing a NWA pay-per-view. When was the last time I even wanted to see an NWA pay-per-view? It's been years. The last, I can't remember, the Empower and then the NWA 75 pay-per-view, I think. And well, it was the anniversary, not the actual pay-per-view number. When Aldis defended the title and lost to Trevor Murdoch. That was the last one that I looked at. And it was a reasonably good show. I mean, the production was crap, but it was a reasonably good show. And I've not had interest in them in some time. But I will assume the angle that they produced, Neidhart and Paige over the championship, or Paige attacking Nattie at her training facility, and then the promo that that she cut before she did it, the promo that Neidhart did afterwards. Basically, Nattie was saying that she was trying to settle herself back into being Natalya, but you just woke me up. And she didn't know if she can go back. She's like, so I don't care what the poster says. Natalya will not be at the Crockett Cup, but Nattie Neidhart will. And it's like, that right there is the biggest, that should be the main event. I just say it now, that should be their main event. I know that they're probably going to put Lattimore on last as the champion, but it should be Neidhart and Paige. They should be closing that show out. That is the only reason that I would even think about getting that pay-per-view at this point, because I don't know any tag teams that's in the NWA right now. Lattimore has been a good wrestler, but I don't know if he's been the champion that they need to get some sort of attention on. Nattie Neidhart is the biggest attraction that they have going for them right now, and she's not a contracted player to them, but that is the biggest attraction that they've got right now. And I want to say it honestly, if I'm Billy Corgan, I'm giving her the belt. Certainly nothing against Kenzie Paige. She has done what she can do with that championship. She's done what she can do with it. And I don't know if there's anything else that she can pull off with this. She's been the NWA Women's Champion for about 2 years. And in that time, there's not been a lot of change in the eyes that have gone on there. It's like every wrestling promotion that we know of. You have your hardcore fans, and those fans are not going to leave. They love that, and this is their brand, and they're probably not going to forsake them just because it's not a hot property right now. But having said that, if they're trying to get fans who might have lapsed on it, like me, to come back, can you imagine Neidhart winning that championship and showing back up on somebody else's TV with it? She might be the touring champion that they need right now. And I would say WWE deserves, what Nattie deserves, let me rephrase it. Nattie deserves for WWE to allow her to take that run. She's given a lot of years to him, and the reverting back to her previous incarnation. She almost talks about Natalya in the same way that Mick Foley talked about his other personalities. Now, of course, she's not portraying a crazy gimmick, but I'm just saying she almost speaks about it in like, this is a separate identity that I have. If she can go there and she can win that championship, I was like, I'm putting that all over everything. And I love the promo that she gave, and I love that she paced it. It wasn't even a professional pace, but it did the job. She put the poster up and pasted over top of herself as Natalya with herself as Nattie Neidhart. I love it. And I am seriously thinking about getting it just for that. If I don't find somebody that did the same thing that they did with the last thing. Just take that match, clip it, and stick it up somewhere. But if not, I may get it just on the basis of that. And speaking of that, I think that this is a good time to lead off into the promo so that you can see and or hear, depending on what platform you're listening to. So as we get ready to roll into the WoW review, the thing that this is primarily about, I'm going to hit that. We'll get a musical interlude, and then we'll be back after this.
Natalya really thinks I wasted my time. She thinks I wasted my time going to Las Vegas. I put my career on the line to go out to one of the biggest events of all of WrestleMania weekend to attack the biggest star. I didn't waste my time, and I'm not wasting my time. I demand respect. I deserve respect. And you won't even acknowledge me, Nattie. You won't even acknowledge me. So if you won't give me respect, then I'm going to get it. And I'm going to get it right now.
Kenzie, I heard you complaining about not getting the spotlight. Like you thought it was my job to elevate you like I've elevated everybody else? Complaining about being overlooked? Everybody in this business thinks they're overlooked until they piss off a woman who truly is. I haven't been avoiding you since Bloodsport, you asshole. I've been avoiding me. I've been trying to settle back into my life, trying to become okay with becoming Natalya again. I have been sitting in my life, numb, because I showed the world what I could do at Bloodsport. And I don't know if I can shut that side of me off now. I don't know if I want to. So you jumping me in my own ring, Kenzie? Oh, it didn't anger me. It freed me. Because now I have a reason to hunt you down and become who I truly am. And I don't care what the poster says, Kenzie. Natalya will not be showing up to the Crockett Cup. But Nattie, Neidhart, will be. You see, because Natalia elevates, but Nattie decimates. And for anybody that's been paying attention, Kenzie, they know how fucked you really are.
Is amazing what a good promo can do to drive interest, what a good personal issue can do to pull your interest up in a match. And let me tell you that Neidhart promo that she's got, as listed, last I checked, it was about 37,000 views just for her promo. I mean, just put that in perspective. What do they charge? Like $20 for pay-per-view? If she was able to get half of the people that watched that promo converted into a paying customer, half of that number is almost $400,000. If we're going off of the $20 price tag. But, I digress. I'm just making a point. I don't want to beat it over the head, but, it still works. A good personal issue and a good promo can still work. Unlike some, not all, but some, the promos that may take place in cartoon land. Anyhow, moving on, we will get to the opening slate for Wow Women of Wrestling. This is going to be their episode 333. 333, season 3, episode 33. Title, Sweet Heat's Revenge. The air date, April the 26th. The chronological number, 137. And the show opens up with Miami Sweet Heat having a conversation in the makeup room. Basically talking about the main event, and for some reason they got some disembodied hand on the side doing makeup. Like, well, I don't even know why that was necessary. Yeah, it's nothing on Sweet Heat, honestly. It's just like, why do we need this floating hand off to the side doing makeup in probably the most unnatural way that you could do it? Like, seriously. I have seen that done on a number of occasions. My daughter does makeup. I've never seen her attempt to try to do that from the back of somebody's head. But anyway, they're to each their own. I'm pretty sure everybody's got their own little style. We go to the commentators. The next segment, they open up the show, and the Classmaster with Samantha Smart come out to the ring as the commentators set the show up. Smart gives her, her Samantha Smart promo, and then she offers a superior match. Now, when I say a Samantha Smart promo, there's a couple of key points that she's going to come out and address. That everybody else is an idiot, or she likes to call them the stupids. I don't know. And that they are superior than everyone else. But in this particular case, now she wants to prove it. She wants to prove that the Classmaster is superior by offering up what she has come up with, a superior match, because no one's ever done a handicap match before. And that's basically what it is. It's a handicap match. It's 3-on-1 handicap. And then, McLean has to, what are you talking about? A superior match? And so she explains it as what it is. It's amazing to me that she's able to write her own ticket as far as what matches are and what she's going to do. And everybody else is just kind of left to the whims and begging and pleading to David McLean to do stuff for them. But we'll just chalk that up to, well, she's the manager of the champion, so therefore she can do it. Now, I don't recall any other manager being able to do that, whether they had the championship or not. But, hey, to each their own. We'll take that for what it is. And so it is placed out there that we're going to take a not 1, not 2, but 3 in a superior match. This is a test of superiority. Now, let's pause that for a second. Because at this point, I'm pretty sure that is no shock that the superior efforts that she is placing forth to take place against Spring Break 24/7, the least impressive team that WoW has to offer, period. This match is awful. And I know the WoW faithful that get on the comment, man, this is great. They're going to say that about everything. And the thing that really got me with this little portion of the show before Spring Break 24/7 comes out is that, okay, one, you have to assume that Samantha Smart handpicked these opponents because Dave McLean, the matchmaker, knew nothing about this. Or at least that's how it was presented. It's like, what? She told me about this earlier today. What is a superior match? And then, he's asking all these questions. But what was the point in them beating you over the head with this, that this is a non-title match? I mean, was it really that important? But that's what they pretty much did. They made sure that you knew that for whatever reason that this is a non-title match. It's like, okay. I wasn't expecting it to be a title match in this environment in the first place, but you have said it enough. You mean that you're not going to put the title on? No, this is a match of superiority and all that stuff. So that just got overdone. But he clarifies again that this is a non-title match, and then is announced as such. And then we go into the match. And boy, I honestly don't know if I would have allowed this to be on my television. I mean, seriously, I do not know that if it were me, I would have left this on TV. I might have just said, look, y'all need to either do this again or this match is getting pulled. So, Spring Break 24/7. Let's take the idea that they were a competent team to begin with. I don't know the last time I've seen Spring Break 24/7 win a normal match at all. And I don't know if this is somehow a testament to how great, or in Samantha Smart's words, superior the Classmaster is over them, or just how bad Spring Break 24/7 is. Keep in mind, this is the same team that at the mere presence of Reina Del Rey, all three of them went cowering on the outside of the ring. You remember that? All three. Just at the sight of her. Till she tagged out and gave them somebody that they thought they could take or be competitive with. So I do not get the feel nor the impression that this is somehow some grand testament to how good the Classmaster is. But this is just ridiculously bad. So, Spring Break 24/7 comes into the, and somebody asked me during this where it's like, what does the Spring Break 27 title mean? I was like, I don't know. I don't have a goddamn clue why they call themselves Spring Break 24/7. It's like, what are they on, party time all the time? Every which day that they can? Is that what that's supposed to mean? Because if that's the case, they need to be training and not partying. Because clearly they are no good at wrestling. Sandy Shore, the one that probably has the most talent of I'm not going to say probably, does have the most talent of the bunch, needs to get out of that thing at her earliest convenience. Get out of this team. Get out of this promotion before it just ruins you. Because Sandy Shore, the persona that is Sandy Shore, is never going to do anything at this point. That's over and done with. And this match was the absolute proof of that. So we can do the play-by-play on this match because it's just is terrible and short. So it starts off, all three of them are huddled on one side, Classmasters on the other. And they decide, for whatever reason, let's just go at her one by one. And with ease, the Classmaster chucks off Sandy Shore. Same thing with Bay. Same thing with Waters, who looks like she just is terrified. And then the Classmaster stands in the middle like, yeah, look at me. I'm strong. Then all three of them just decide to jump her. So she does the She-Hulk spot and just tosses everybody off. And so all three again, as they get tossed off, pull themselves up in their individual corners to line themselves up for what has to be maybe the worst avalanche or splash that I've ever seen in wrestling ever. She just kind of walks over to them and leans her body up against all, them one by one, clapping her hands behind her head, and they just crumple to the ground. The last one being Crystal Waters, and she is also, again, terrified that this person that you signed up to get into the ring with is coming at you. She just screams and just covers her head and like, ah, and then that's it. And she's dragged out into the middle. While the other two members, after this light body tap that they dealt with, are just down and immobile. Classmaster carries Waters over to top of Sandy Shore and just lays her on there, and then she runs across and gives a hip attack to both Bay on one side and then Waters and Shore on the other. And then throws Bay into the other two, and they just fall over. And they are all just like, oh my God, well, like they have no stamina or ability to tolerate pain whatsoever, which only makes me feel like, oh, they must be in the wrong line of work. So Bay decides to get a head start, ducks underneath the clothesline, gives a crossbody, leaps into the waiting arms of the Classmaster so she could swing her foot, her being Bay, into the waiting faces of both Waters and Shore at some time, and then she throws Bay on top of him. Now, all three members again down. They like, you would think that they had never taken a slam, they had never been slung around or suplexed or anything else. They are just completely inept and just ruined. Bay tries to do something. She takes a kick at her shins, and then in some very weak pie faces, she the Classmaster just pie faces Bay off, pie faces Waters off, and then they're just done. They don't do anything. They just kind of stand around watching, or in Crystal Waters' case, just on her knees watching. Shore tries to get a running start. She runs over to Classmaster, ducks underneath, hooks herself into a crucifix. And then Classmaster, of course, doesn't go down, while the other two are just standing dumbfounded like idiots. Waters walks up to the Classmaster like she has no real intentions of trying to do anything other than maybe give her a stern talking to. And then she gets kicked in the gut. She goes down and she stays down. And then Bay does the same thing. She at least runs in, and then she takes a kick in the gut. And then she goes down. And she's done. Both of them are done. Both are finished based on the kick to their stomach. They're out cold. Finished. Done. Shore gets slammed in Classmaster's new finishing move of the week. Used to be a big boot. Now is a sack of shit toss over her head. And she piles him up 1, 2, 3, and that's it. That was the match. And I saw this, I was like, all right, well, if I'm a tag team in the back and I see the Spring Break 24/7 beaten like that, I don't ever want to see my name losing to them ever. That is grounds for me to quit. Because how can I? They couldn't take this one. They couldn't even be competitive with this one person. Why would I get in there and lose to them? And it didn't take much. It wasn't like she hit them with some sort of massive move or sidewalk slam, power bomb, things that you would believe that the audience would accept as a means to keep them down and immobile and just not able to help. It didn't take much of anything for her to do this. She barely broke a sweat. And I know that was supposed to be the overall goal, like, well, we're trying to show how dominant the Classmaster is. But again, I don't know if this shows her as being dominant. When we got these three people who have already shown themselves not to really have a lot of guts within this environment. They lose all the time. This is just the worst loss that they've taken. But it ain't the first loss that they had. And I said in the previous podcast, I am not opposed to a squash match. I really am not. But let's not go around trying to portray them as some sort of stars and you should tune in to watch them, because they aren't that. And this match shows it. And what I'm concerned about now is that you're going to get the inevitable next week, fans, is going to be Spring Break 24/7 against fill in the blank. Like that's supposed to entice you to watch this. We just watched these 3 women get decimated by one person without a lot of work to do it. And like I said, it's not like the Classmaster gave a whole lot of high impact there. Go back and look at Jessie Jones when she was a heel and she took on Ice Cold and Foxy Fierce. Did she do it at the same time? No. But she made a point, and even if they were, in somewhat competitive, she stayed dominant and she tapped them both out. It's not like the first time we've seen somebody do something to show that they're a superior size, strength, or whatever. Del Rey, it took the entire participants in the battle royal to get her out. Right? Never mind, like I said earlier, she just stood across the ring from them and they just oh no, I don't want no part of that. So why would I believe and care about or otherwise believe that this is some sort of big deal that Classmaster beat these 3? They should just be, they're the resident jobbers. Now, what I would have preferred is if she being Samantha Smart, if she had gotten 3 wrestlers from, whatever wrestling school, California, and got them in there, and they were able to bump around and make the Classmaster look dominant. Now, I know that she's not responsible for the booking, but in this kayfabe thing, we're going to say that she is. But behind the scenes, this is the time where you get somebody that can be flung around, and make Classmaster look good. They couldn't. They could not. I mean, as hard as it may be for some people to believe it, but even doing the job and trying to make somebody get them over as some sort of dominant thing or get over the big move that they have, that is an art into itself. And that's what she needed. That's what the Classmaster needed. She needed some people who could have been in the same spot as this, probably needed to call the match for her, slam me, or, something like that, so that she could look big, powerful, strong, and dominant. And not just looking like she's beating up on 3 people who have no ability to take her, whether they had extra help or not. They should not be shown as stars on this show anymore. At least not for a significant amount of time. And even when they do, it should take some retooling. But for Sandy Shore's sake, get out of there. Leave that place. The expiration date is past due. Spring Break 24/7 is never going to be anything in that place. Unless you got another 2-3 years for them to try and rehabilitate the team. Get out. Run. So after this, Smart comes back in. She cuts another promo. Pretty much like before. This is with conviction, but no real point to it angle-wise. And was like, you're very, 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 very good. Like she hit that note a couple of times, like she forgot what she might have wanted to say. But it's driving the point home that everybody's beneath them. Which also does not help when she comes in and she's equally as tall as her client or charge or whatever you want to call Classmaster in this case. Both of them tower over Spring Break 24/7. So then you would probably be able to convince just a casual viewer that Samantha Smart would be able to beat them. But the one thing I can say is that at least they didn't drill the point home. Well, it's a 6'2" Classmaster. Like that's her first name. But no, I'm sorry. This is not overly impressive. I know this is the point was to put the Classmaster over, and I know the promo was there to put the Classmaster over. This was not a great way to do it, in my opinion. And again, if it were me, I would have gotten some other people who could either bump around and make her look phenomenal in her size and strength and what have you, or I would have pulled this match off the card altogether. I was like, this should not be aired. The next segment is the promo for the next match, which is also the next segment. That would be the Brat Pack with Reina Del Rey and Adriana Gambino taking on the Mighty Mites 2.0. I don't know. Keta Rush and Sugar. And of course, this starts up. Gambino goes right to the commentary booth. Like, why? Why? Why is she even there? And I like Gambino. I really do. But what is this about? Why is it that she must go to the commentary booth every time they have a match, regardless of who is against? When is happening? She has to walk past that ring and go sit down next to David. Why is it that is it's got to be instruction. And when you come out there, just come out there and talk to me. What is this for? And they didn't do, I'm not going to say they didn't do anything because they did something in the match. But the team of the Alliance, as much as I like all members, they've not been given all that much to do. The closest thing that we got was some haphazard feud, if you can call it that at all, against Chella and Kalaki and Holiday. That is the closest that we've gotten to them doing anything. I mentioned when they got together, it's like, well, there's been no real mission statement as to why they're together. There's been no mission statement as to what their plans are. They're just there. Even when Del Rey and Gambino got together in the first place, there wasn't really a lot of reason behind that. They tried to play it off like, oh, well, Gambino hired her for muscle and protection, but Gambino had just beaten the person that allegedly she needed protection against. It's like they do things and just expect you to like, well, this makes perfect sense to me. No, it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why would she need to do that? And why is she getting this team together? I don't even know. Let's just look at it from the point of the Brat Pack. I don't even know why they would continue to be part of the group other than Gianni and Gambino are friends. And that the intervention of Gianni giving instruction to BK Rhythm never went anywhere. The yanking of the microphone out of Gambino's hand never went anywhere. Nothing's going anywhere. They're just spinning their wheels. It's just a faction for the sake of being a faction. Now, if you've listened to this before, then you know that I like the Brat Pack. And largely I thought that they were the best working team that WoW has. They usually find themselves where they need to be. The timing is great. All of that stuff I like with them. And I fully thought that they had like great chemistry with the Mighty Mites version 1, Sugar and Spice. And it could have built a good tag team feud around it. But that never happened, and here we are. I don't even dislike Rush being the substitute here. But it is also a case of, okay, where is Spice? How is it that we got another case of somebody else had something better to do than to be on their nationally televised wrestling program? Spice was brought up as not being there to enjoy time with her family. to enjoy time with her family. WoW airs once a week. You don't have time to go and visit your family and come back or just miss it. And again, we're talking about in the kayfabe universe of WoW. Because in reality, we know that if you miss a day of WoW, then you probably miss like a month and a half worth of television. But seriously, that the answers that they give only serve to make it look like they just have better things to do. Well, she's off protesting about the environment. Sprout Greens is tied herself to an oil rig, and Spice is going out to visit her family. Valentina Diamante is coming back from visiting her family. Look, everybody just gets to up and leave when they feel like it. Foxy Fierce is watching her sister at home, cheering her on. I was like, why is this the case? Is no one there doing their job? What are you hiring people for if they're just going to get up and go when, hey, I got to go visit my mom. All right. And I'll be gone for like 2 months, but then I'll be back. Americana. Now, it sounded great. And don't get me wrong. It sounds great. Like, well, her son got hurt or whatever's sick. Whichever one it was. And she needed to go home and take care of him. That's been months. Short of being in the hospital, what are you saying to justify her being gone this long? You see what I'm saying? Everybody is just, I have other things to do beyond being on this show. I mentioned it, or I used the example the last podcast that we've heard the wrestlers talk about the wrestler's sacrifice. That's at least what I label it as. I've missed weddings. I've missed funerals. I didn't get to see my kids' birthdays and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. WoW is like the opposite of that. I'm not saying that they just need to put their livelihoods on hold to do this, but at least give me the impression that WoW is important. I don't get the impression that the promotion is important at all. I don't think it's important to anybody other than the the top heel teams that they got, Fab Four, top tier, and you might as well just add in Dave McClain. He's not in a heel faction, but like those are the only people that WoW comes off as remotely important to. But anyhow, Rhythm does her opening rap like normal. And I am just, that is wasted on this crowd also. I said a couple of matches were wasted on it, but that's wasted on this crowd. It's not doing anything for anybody. I like BK, but it's not doing anything for anybody. It's not helping her. It's not helping Gianni or the Alliance. It's not building them up. It's not getting them heat with the audience because that audience is super duper fake. It doesn't do anything. It's just time filler. And I'm at a point where it's like, that's enough of that. Now, the match in and of itself, I believe I had used the example with not the Brat Pack, but the Fab Four of what last episode, that it was talent trying to make the best of subpar material. And this is largely what I feel like with Gianni and Rhythm. Talented individuals trying to make the best out of subpar material. But there's a lot of talent that's going on. I mean, even Rush, who is not, I guess you would say, a classically trained wrestler for all intents and purposes. She's good at what she does. She just needs more time to be able to do the things that she needs to do. Sugar does very well. And of the people on the roster that they've been in the ring with, the original version of the Mites, the Brat Pack has probably been the best in helping them showcase what they can do and how they do it. So the match started off with Gianni and Rush. And Gianni and Rush look good. It's not like they came off like this was some sort of playtime venture or something like that. It felt in the little bit that I got at the beginning like they were going through, the good old tie-ups and trying to break some holes and exploiting an advantage and whatnot. Gianni's face sells very well. She looks like she's in, desperate need of trying to get free. Even when she got up to try for the clothesline, it was a look like you mother, like she was trying her best, but Rush just cut off, and she did a pretty textbook suplex. And I didn't necessarily care for the pin that Rush did attached to that suplex because her shoulders were down too. Now, I do have the subtraction points for that. I don't know why the referee went down for that. Both of their shoulders are down. He shouldn't have been counting. What Rush should have did was floated over into a pin. But, again, she's not a classically trained wrestler like the rest of them. I don't know if the instinct for that is fully there. And to the best of my knowledge, she doesn't take bookings elsewhere to where that would start up. But we got a good double team, double elbows by Sugar and Rush. Camera angles was better there because it probably would not have looked as good if they had got that overhead shot that I've grown to hate. Because I think there might have been a little bit of air between it on the elbows going into Gianni, but because of where the camera was, it wasn't painfully obvious. Sugar tried to get a suplex in on Gianni. Gianni's able to block it. She uses superior strength and drives Sugar into the turnbuckles. Tried to leap onto her and get a nice splash in, but Sugar gets out of the way. And then we get Rhythm in there. Rhythm tries to take her down. And then she is now getting caught and overdone by the speed that Sugar has. Now, keep in mind, of course, during all this time, Gambino's out on the, not on the floor. She's at the commentating booth, kind of yay and cheer. Get up, do this. I really, really, really wish she could have been the manager that she should have been. The only thing that makes this palatable in that she's not there is that Del Rey is there in her place. And if Gambino had gone to the commentating booth this episode and not done it every other time that she'd been out to ringside, this would be acceptable. This would be perfectly fine. I would feel like I just said, like, okay, well, Del Rey is in her place and she trusts her to be able to handle the business. But since Gambino does it all the time, it doesn't feel any different, and it just makes it come off like she's a subpar manager. But anyhow, so we get the turnaround by Rhythm when Sugar tries to do like a cartwheel into a splash. Rhythm gets the knees up, and Sugar sells that gut buster she sells the knees into the gut. Almost comically, but I cannot say that, most people have had that moment where you're in pain and your body just goes into some spasms, so I can't really knock her for that. And then Rhythm gets her in the gut buster. She follows it up. Now, I talked about the good camera angle a second ago. This is where I got to talk about the bad one. They did what I would consider what looks like a nice tandem move, 3 shots front and back by Rhythm and Gianni. But you didn't see, or you don't really get to see, Rhythm do one because the way the camera's positioned. The tag comes in. Rhythm shoots Sugar into the elbow of Gianni, which forces Sugar back towards a forearm shot to the back by Rhythm, which then sets up a clothesline by Gianni, and she drives that thing in. I like what it's a simple set of, double teams, but it still feels like it could be effective. I just hate that the camera missed BK Rhythm's, her addition to that. They get the CD cover thing in, and, Del Rey is able to run over there and get her shine in too. Here's another part that I like. Rush did not just stand there like an idiot and take the punch to the face like everybody else does. Gianni ran, and she ran. She ran over there to try to take a swipe at her. Everybody else, that didn't seem like they get the speed that Gianni did, but Gianni ran and distracts the ref in her doing that so Rhythm can work on Sugar. On the other end, Gianni tries to get that shot in to the face of Rush, and she just, she pulls back like you should. I don't know why no one else does it, but it's like she should. But anyway, she gives a look on her face. She's like a mean mug to Gianni. Good for them. They look like there was some legitimate animosity there. So while she's looking mad, Gianni charges in, slams down on Sugar, goes for the cover. Rush stops it. And, Gianni's up and she's up in her face, yelling at her like, hey, what are you doing? Even though they know that they cheated. But, it works for me. And that distraction was all it needed, because now she turns around and Sugar catches in a small package. And it's a good one. It's tied in there tight, but Gianni's able to get out. And just before Sugar's able to get her bearings and run in and try to do something to Gianni, a quick kick in the gut, and it blocks it. She tries to go for what appears to be like a neck breaker, but Sugar's able to get out of that and then whip Gianni over. I think the only time that there was a little bit of pause in the action where somebody had to kind of stutter step, and what they were doing next was after this tag and Rhythm comes in. She gets in there, but she has to wait for Rush to come in too, and then she takes a great bump for the drop kick. Now, Rush is doing her deal, and she, all the tiny ones, the Mighty Mites, have to do head scissors and all that good stuff, because that just seems to be one of their go-to moves. Gianni saves the pinfall off of Rush. Rhythm is able to push Rush off, and she tags back out to Sugar. Sugar, who just got in. I don't know if she had time to really rest, but she got put out of there. They try to do a double team off on Rhythm, and she is pretty much on fire at that point. They did get her. They whip her into the corner. The babyfaces try to charge in. Rhythm hoists Rush over the top rope, catches Sugar in the gut while she charges in, elbows Rush off of the apron. I mean, I just not what I was expecting out of the heel team, but hey, I guess it was working. So now they're setting up for the finish, and this is a probably better finish for the pairing of the Brat Pack. They being the Brat Pack, set up for Gianni to do the power slam, but it's an assisted power slam. So Rhythm shoots Sugar into Gianni. She hooks up into power slam position. Rush is trying to get up on the apron. Del Rey is sneaking around, and she grabs the ankle of Keta Rush and pulls her off. And it was great timing to do that, because the ref, his back is turned in the first place, so he didn't get the chance to see it. And it's not like everybody else that just walk over there because your partner gets down and I'm going to run around the corner and stop you. It was the third person again. So I can go with that. She yanks her off. Gianni and Rhythm do the assisted power slam, which is almost like a power slam suplex combo, the way she slides into it. She being Rhythm. 1, 2, 3. Sugar's done. I enjoyed the match. It's just a shame that they are locked in limbo and have nowhere to go and nothing to do and nothing to chase for. They really don't even bring up the fact that they want the tag titles now. of course, randomly, McLean or, hey, you're going after the tag titles or something like that. It just do that. But it never goes anywhere. It doesn't mean anything. And I concerned for their well-being within this company because I just do not know if they have any chance of growing. After the match, Gambino comes in the ring. She cuts the promo, putting over the team, which is great that she puts the team over. But I wrote down, is this going to go anywhere? And I really doubt that it is. It just didn't seem as if this has a future in front of them at all. But perhaps, maybe, we'll get somebody that surprises me, changes my mind, makes me feel like, oh, okay, well, maybe they are going to get somewhere. Maybe they will get that big change in or something like that. But as of right now, I'm sorry, I just do not see the alliance as doing anything significant unless or until either the Fab Four or Top Tier or Animal Instinct get removed out of the equation, because right now those are like their top heel teams and or factions. Like Animal Instinct, just think about it, Animal Instinct got a title match already. No one in the, I can't say no one because I think Del Rey was contender for the Wild Championship 4 or 5 years ago. So I guess that counts. But I don't recall the Brat Pack getting that. I remember Gambino was basically in the Jesse Jones / Genesis role at one point in time. Like, hey, I'm undefeated and I deserve a title. That. And now that I say that out loud, it feels like a lot of people just get recycled angles, if you want to call it. I'm using that term very loosely. Like, we need somebody to be undefeated and want to go after the title. So let's find another heel to rack up some wins, an impressive 5 or 6 of them, and claim that they need to be the champion. That was Gambino's role until she got hurt. Now it's Genesis' role, where she can just complain. Moving on. The next segment will be Sylvia Sanchez and Kara Kai facing off. My dear Sylvia Sanchez. I have grown a fondness for Miss Sanchez. I just wish that she had something else to do in this company. And why do I have a fondness for Sanchez? I don't know. She is just legitimately grown on me. Like I have, maybe it's the attempt of some fire when she walks out the ringside. I don't. Maybe it's the execution, but she is legit just grown on me. So we have Sanchez making the entrance into the ring. She is the first participant here. I could have dealt without the B-roll, but aside from that, she seems like there is some effort to try to not be the ice woman that she was. She's in the camera, she's yelling and all that good stuff. The sad part is that she just, much like the Alliance, has nowhere to go. She's just kind of there. Now, everybody cannot have something going on with them all the time. I understand. You got to have your cold matches. You got to have some people that just rounding out the roster. And in this particular case, it's not surprising that, Kai, spoiler, would go over in this match. But she's almost somebody that really didn't have much to do. She's just like, it's been the same song and dance out of Kai for about 5 to 6 months now. Top Tier, we're tired of this. We're not going to allow this to happen anymore. You guys are bullies. Almost every speech that she had has been something along those lines. But that is neither here nor there in this particular instance. This is Kai and Sanchez. And listen, aside from the effort of a power move and loss of grip, apparently, and one thing, I thought they were pretty solid. Now, unfortunately, when those things do happen, like I said, it kind of paints a broad brush on the product as a whole. But they look like they worked really hard to try to make this thing come off well. The first thing, the lockup that they had when they started off the match and the takedown that Sanchez gave, thumbs up. It looked like there was some sort of, attempt to do some work in there. See, she slipped away from what would have been a normal lockup, hooks her rear waist lock, slams her down, gets in a front face lock, I think. But it was all with some level of snap and aggression. Even when she had to take the head scissors and she rolls through, that thing looked good. The first problem that you got out of that was, like I said, looked like it might have been a little bit of loss of grip. I can only assume. I don't know. When they came out of the corner and it looked like Kai was going to go through a head scissors of some sort again. But then Kai and Sanchez recovered pretty quickly. Sanchez just went in and started pounding on her. And all of the stuff that she was doing, it looked good. It looked like there was some kind of snap to it. Like some means of trying to, I don't want to say just hurt somebody, but that's the only way I can really describe it. Like even the drop kick that she gave in the corner, like I tried to look at that thing a couple of times when Sanchez hangs Kai in the tree of woe and gives her a low drop kick in the face. I tried to say, like, where did she connect or did not connect? Like, because it didn't seem like it was a lot of space in between that. The only downside that she might have got is that when Kai came down, Sanchez was too close, and she got kind of grazed in the head, just with her falling over. But I like that she works like a heel and she works tight and she looks like she works snug. And then you had some people out there in the front row overacting again. I like, if there's anything that draws my attention away from the matches is people out there doing that. Like, go back and watch this. Who is this guy on the front row tossing these air boxing shots while they're doing stuff in there? It's like, who does this? It is almost just a frustrating thing to me to see these people like that. They clearly are not people that are concerned with paying for or otherwise entertained or engaged. Well, they might be entertained, but they don't give a shit who wins this match or not. They're just out there with thunderclappers and just doing whatever they can to get some kind of attention on themselves to any degree. It would not shock me if they were told before the thing started, now make sure that you are engaged now. You show them what you got, that you love your wild superheroes. It wouldn't shock me if somebody was there doing that. Anyhow, back to the match. It was just distracting when I saw the guy back there doing it. And I had to write a note for it. The guys in there tossing the X sign and people just waving, all of that. But, okay, so Sanchez is working, very well. She's got the wrist lock on and she's dropping the elbow. I wish they'd have got a different camera angle for the elbow, but, it is what it is. The shoulder blocks, that looked good. She seemed particularly motivated, which also made Kai look motivated. The best scorpion kick that I've seen performed on this show took place with Kai, and Sanchez. The way that they did it here, I can at least buy that. Okay, that might have worked if when she whips her leg back and she just followed through. Now I brought it up at the beginning. The one or the second downside was the attempt at the power move, the attempt to catch Kai coming off of the ropes into a power slam. Unfortunately, Sanchez looks like her legs might have gave out from underneath her, and she wasn't able to get a full rotation to bring Kai down. But if you were just looking at the game of her out wrestling Kai, there's a lot of that. If anything, that should have been like the hallmark commentary moment of how good Sanchez was. This is another one of those moments where I wish they had a heel announcer to be able to point that out, even though if it's coming from the heel announcer, you might disregard it to some degree. But when they make sense, they make sense. So anyhow, she looked, just in terms of body language and how she was functioning there, like she was a heel. The scorpion kick that I talked about, she catches the foot and then she just shoves that down, and then Kai just follows through and whips that thing right up to the top of Sanchez's head. Now here's the great part for me. And this may be part of the reason that I was like, I think that Sanchez is really winning me over. But Kai did a great Northern Lights and hooked the leg in good. I thought she had some great execution there. But at the end, we get Sanchez. She tries to do, what we assume to be maybe a Death Valley driver or something like that or TKO. That's probably more likely, off of the shoulders when she hoists Kai up. When she tries to whip her around, Kai lands on her feet, hooks in Sanchez, and gives her basically a Ferris wheel slam. She goes for the cover. 1, 2, and at the 3, Sanchez gets that shoulder just behind it. Just behind the 3. And, I know some wrestlers will do that to try to maintain being strong. I'll do the job and I'll lose, but I'm going to get my shoulder up at the last possible moment so that you can have some level of debate in your mind about whether or not I should have lost. I've seen some people do that. And no one asked them to. No one asked them to be like, all right, make sure you kick out at the last second. No, that's just what they decide because they're trying to protect themselves. And I don't mean protect themselves from harm. I mean protect their credibility. But honestly, given how she's been booked in a while, I don't know if I can blame her. I do not know if I can blame her. If that's what it takes, because WOW's probably not going to do anything with you in particular. They've already ruined 2 versions of the team that she was in. Evelyn Rivera and Angel Rose and the manager. And the unit, the faction with Tormenta, if you want to include that. Like, all of them have just either been dismantled or left. So she does not seem to have a direction. I've used the term rudderless boat on some occasions, and unfortunately she is probably in that category right now, just being somewhat rudderless. There's no real path for Sylvia Sanchez at this moment. But maybe when they come back around to the next set of tapings a year from now or 6 months from now, she might do something if she's still there. But, and let's go into the next segment. But I forgot to mention something about the first match. Is David McClain a heel announcer? I just thought about that when I said they need an official one. But one of the suggestions that he made during that match Well, you know what they need to do is that the Spring Break 24/7 need to attack the Classmaster's legs and take her down and then use the ropes as leverage so they can get the pin. Like, are you encouraging these baby faces to cheat? And you think that little of them, that the three of them have to cheat in order to beat the Classmaster? So, yeah, that. I forgot to mention it then, even though I have it written down, but is he a heel manager? He seems to enjoy yakking it up with the heels more often than anybody. It's almost like they have to do it. This is what you're required to do. You got to come out here and talk to me if you're a heel. Sit down and enjoy my conversation and my company. And yes, the babyfaces need to cheat in order to get past this soul person. But anyway, we've already talked about that, so we're moving on. Sibley Scoles is the next segment, the interview segment. And what is this, the fourth time that she's interviewing Xena Phoenix? Does she have anybody else that she talks to? Top Tier barges in and busts up the interview time to set up a match with Campanelli versus Phoenix. And this is pretty much the same thing as far as, Phoenix is concerned about, well, you can't do this, and how about you prove it to me in a match? That. Campanelli can be entertaining. The other two members, Glitter and Crush, also can be, and there are times they can be overbearing. It's a fine line for that. So when they get there, they're yanking a microphone around and what have you, and Scoles is like, oh, they're trying to take my mic away. And that's when we end with Phoenix essentially giving a challenge. Well, how about you meet me next week in the ring, and I'll show you. So we have that to look forward to. And I'm almost positive that Xena Phoenix is going to go out there like an idiot by herself, despite the fact that she knows that Top Tier will walk out in full force as they always do. But this was actually a good use of Scoles. She did not have to overplay her hand or her position too much. It was maybe the most amount of passion that I've seen out of Xena Phoenix. Still has a way to grow, but it's something. It's a start. And maybe we'll get some aggression out of her as time goes on. But that might have been one of the better segments that Sibley Scoles has hosted. It did require some outside intervention, but it still was maybe the best segment that I've seen her in. The segment after that, well, wouldn't you know it, Sibley Scoles was back again, and she starts off the recap of the issues between Miami Sweet Heat and the Fab Four. This is the first official word of hearing the team as having been broken. Although later in the show, that is not reflected whatsoever. So I don't know where they were going with that. And we will get to that when we get to the main event. So, but this is the recap and essentially putting the pieces together as to where Miami Sweet Heat is supposed to be in this particular pecking order. The next segment is the promo segment. Miami Sweet Heat cutting a promo in the wild heel hallway, because it seems like only the heels can cut a promo in there as they walk down towards the ring. They do their same stuff, that they're going to be the 5-time champions, greatest champions of all time in wild history, etc., etc. Aussie and Tormenta, on the other hand, do their promo by the staging equipment. And it's all well and fine. I think the same rules apply. Fine promo, but it's somewhat rinse and repeat type of thing. But all of this to set up the main event may be one of WOW's better efforts to try to drive some sort of attention towards what's coming up next. Or at least one of their better efforts, more well done, or however you want to phrase it. I do not know why Sibley Scoles is always looking away or off camera. Like, you look at her face when she's talking, she's always like looking away to something else. And I don't know why they feel the need to give her like multiple camera shots. We'll talk to her and then we'll just go to the side of her head and then we'll come back. It's a little jarring and off-putting. And it's odd that she doesn't have a clear line of sight to whatever it is that she's looking at. But that sets it up, and then we go off into the next segment. The next segment being the promo for the main event for next week's episode, which is a triple threat, the unnecessary triple threat to solve the controversy that there's no controversy to. Paola, Mayfield, Genesis, and Santana, Garrett. And I wrote, what exactly is the controversy? As stated in the previous podcast, Genesis was beaten by the Classmaster in the non-title match and then beaten by Santana Garrett in the number one contenders match, so she shouldn't even be in the conversation. Mayfield was an idiot and hit the referee for no good reason, so she shouldn't be in the conversation. But it's always like, all right, well, we have to give Garrett this mountain to climb or this obstacle to overcome. Who cares if these other two need to be there or not? They needed to have a justifiable gripe, whether it was manufactured in their head or not. But there was no justified gripe here. Genesis lost. She wasn't cheated out of it on either occasion. She just lost. Mayfield made a bad decision, and she cost herself. So I don't know what controversy they're trying to play into. It makes me go back to what I've been saying, and I hate that I have to reinforce and or repeat it. WoW is no good at doing angles or storytelling or any of that. They're no good at it. And I'm sure, like always, there'll be someone there that'll say otherwise in their comment section, just underneath "you're beautiful" and stuff like that. But none of these things are justified. The only one of the three that should be justified or is justified based on what we've seen already is Santana Garrett. And she is like perfectly willing to, well, I won a number one contender match. I'll just do it again with three of you. I don't know why she would be fine with this. She just won her number one contenders match. And then, all right, well, another one. And it's not even like it took place weeks after the fact. It was, I won this number one contenders match, and 2 minutes later, I'm put back into another number one contenders match. Are we heading back towards that? Well, it's just weeks and weeks and weeks of number one contenders matches over and over and over again. This is why WoW becomes difficult to watch on a lot of occasions because of things like this. So it's now time for the final segment and the main event of the show. Miami Sweet Heat versus Princess Aussie and Tormenta to determine who indeed is the number one contenders. Because, if there's one thing that we cannot do without, some good old number one contendership matches. First thing that I can recall, and the first note that I put down on the here is that Zane starts talking about the civil war within the Fabulous Four. And the next thing I wrote is, are they broken up or what? Remember the little video package, and the video package was put together very nicely. I don't think I said that the last time when I brought it up. The video package that they put together promoting the main event was put together very nicely. However, within that package, whoever it is that's doing the voiceover, essentially, I can't even say essentially, she said the attack that Miami Sweet Heat did on Penelope Pink and Holly Swag after they lost the match, and then Lana Star broke up the Fabulous Four forever. Like, this does not look like a team that's broken up. Now, granted, we hadn't gotten to the point that really illustrates that yet. But he starts off questioning, talking about the Civil War, whereas the video package made it sound like that was done. What Civil War? This is finished. They've broken up. And I'm getting ahead of myself, but the end of this, none of that was reflected. None of this angst or us having problems with each other is reflected there. It did not look like a group of people that was having problems. It looked like a group of people that made an error, but it didn't look like there was beef. So they come into the ring, and then we get the baby faces, Tormenta and Princess Aussie. They come down, and as much as I justify the babyface jumping the heels, well, what was it, an episode ago with Big Rigs and Bourbon jumping Holly Swag and Penelope Pink, because of the personalities that they've set and the circumstances by which those teams have crossed paths. You can somewhat justify that. Here, the babyface just started the match for whatever reasons. I mean, you got Miami Sweet Heat doing Miami Sweet Heat stuff, and I'm assuming the referee just went across like, all right, now's your time to do your thing. And then as soon as the bell rings, they being Miami Sweet Heat kicked and put down, and then they're jumped by the babyfaces. Why are these two jumping them? Yes, they want to be the number one contenders. We all know that. But there hasn't been anything between the two of these teams that would lead them to have that kind of anger. It's like an unwarranted emotion, right? If they had some sort of rivalry, blood feud, they had screwed each other over back and forth or whatever, then I could definitely see that. But I just do not get that here. And it's almost always that way with Miami Sweet Heat. I've gone on and on and on talking about the only thing that they've been able to really do as far as being in WoW is have their lives rotate around the tag team championships. And they don't really do much else outside of that. I've repeated over and over and over, they need to have at least something to do besides this. They can't just be wrapped up in the tag team titles forever. And if they don't learn they being the creative, if they don't learn how to give them something else aside from the once in a while bland, cold match that they might do, if they don't give them something else to do, they're going to be lost. They're going to just be lost floating around. They're going to be another team added to the what are we doing pile. And maybe it's time for them to get in that. But still, point being is that they could probably stand to have some other program to be involved in that didn't center with them, well, we got to be the 5-time champions or we got to get the belts back. So anyway, the babyfaces jumpstart the match, like I said, and then Miami Sweet Heat try to get back in. Lindsay starts off with Aussie. She goes for a drop kick that hits nothing because Aussie gets out of the way, so I'm not saying that like it was some sort of flaw. But what did happen behind this, which I didn't really understand, Lindsay misses the drop kick. Aussie gets out of the way, swats, and then gets her out of the ring. Lori comes into the ring and into the camera shot, apparently a little bit ahead of what she was supposed to do it, because without anybody shutting her down, the ref or Tormenta, she just kind of stops what she's doing and backs up. It's like, okay, I'm a little bit ahead of myself here. So she stops, waits until Aussie turns around, and then gives her a drop kick. Now she's in the ring with Tormenta because we haven't had any tags in and out yet. And then Tormenta goes for a drop I'm sorry, I didn't say Tormenta goes for a drop kick. She tries to catch her, but she misses because she's swatted away in much the same way that Aussie did to Lori's sister earlier. And so we start off, and I guess now is going to be Lori and Tormenta as the legal team or legal persons representing their team. There is a spot where Lori goes charging into the turnbuckle, following Tormenta, who she's seen in before. Tormenta hops over the top rope. All right. So she's on the outside after she springboard out, and Lori comes in charging her. She tries to, I guess, hit her. Tormenta blocks it. But then Lori tries to get her with a shoulder block. And it just looks like she hit Tormenta, but it didn't do anything. I don't know. And then she just sits there bent over for a while until Tormenta gets into the ring to do whatever it is that she's about to do. And then they had this stalemate moment. Tormenta rolls up to her feet, and then they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. And then they both tag out. And then it's back to Lindsay and Princess Aussie. They have a little bit of an exchange going for whatever roll-ups and things like that. The referee did one thing that I can, give him a thumbs up for when Lindsay gets up and she's on her knees. And Aussie does somewhat of like an Oklahoma roll. The referee looks like, hey, I can't count. Her shoulder's not down. So good for him for doing that. And there's some moments of stall/hesitation. I don't know what it is. I don't know if these two have the chemistry with each other that they need. I mean, it's not a horrible match. It's not bad. It's just they have their moments. They just have these little moments that take place in there that make one or the other have to stall out, stagger. Just like the whole thing with her being on her knees. It looked like she was making no effort to try to get up or out of the way or move or whatever. Things like that. Lindsay does get a chance to show, I guess, some strength. She does her version of the Oklahoma Stampede, hoists Princess Aussie up on her shoulder, and she rams her into 3 different turnbuckle posts. Now, this is, that's an old Dr. Death thing there. The Oklahoma Stampede, where he just hoist him up and just run from one side to the next and then hit him with a power slam in the middle. So she's got a little variation on that. Lori comes back into the ring after she takes a run at Tormenta and knocks off the apron. That is going to be a running theme for the match. Tormenta, I was like, she's hit several times on the apron. Are you asleep? This is one of those things, like, it turned into some overdone spot that they just utilized over and over and over again. It is the sole reason why I was praising Keta Rush for at least moving out of the way or making the effort to move out of the way. Because it didn't turn into that with Sweet Heat. It's just Lori would just run across and then bam, Tormenta, and that was like within a minute or two, where she would just be there and all right, I'm finna run over and hit you, and she would just catch her again. Meanwhile, Princess Aussie is getting beaten up, and this goes on for a little while, where she does have a couple of times. Because that is the point of distraction or whatever the case may be. They try it again, and Tormenta comes into the ring. Lori's on behind the referee like, hey, what are you doing? Come on in here and get me, whatever. Just enough to allow Lindsay to pull the arm Aussie and choke her out and yank her hair and all that good stuff. So the match is going on, and it is moving relatively, we'll say, even. All right. There's no real cause for alarm. We do get to a point where the baby faces regain control. And Tormenta comes in. right? This is following Aussie making the escape, I guess, for out of what would have been another version of the Oklahoma Stampede again. She's able to slip out of it this time, and then she's able to get away from Lindsay. Then she makes the tag to Tormenta. Tormenta comes in, does the House of Fire thing, and starts beating up on Lori, who's become the legal woman for Miami Sweet Heat. Tormenta takes control, kicks out Lori's feet, so she's, seated in the corner. She catches the double knees. She grabs her hair. I don't know what she was trying to do at that particular point because that seemed like it took a little while. This is coming into one of these portions of the match where Miami Sweet Heat would just kind of leap into whatever it is that they're supposed to be doing. I won't say that the move didn't look good. It looked like Tormenta's, finisher, that driver that she does. But Lori also looked like she just jumped into that at a whim. Tormenta caught her foot after trying to, that Lori tries to kick her. And as she's hopping there, Tormenta reaches her hand out and grabs, after ducking, a backhand from Lori, grabs her head and just kind of shoves her, and then Lori just jumps over into the thing. I was like, was that push that strong where it would cause her to do that? So Lindsay comes in, makes the last minute dive. She makes the save. And I have no idea whether they tagged in or not. I would think that Lori would be the legal person in this environment. But the referee ain't doing anything about it. He just kind of like, all right, you made it. Talking about the babyface, they made a tag. But it's not like he was forcing Lindsay to get out. So as this is happening, Tormenta hooks Lindsay in a double arm, whatever it's going to be, because it didn't get complete. But as she's doing that, here come Lana Starr and Holly Swag. Holly Swag swinging in the soccer rocks. No one is doing anything to prevent her from doing this. It's not like it's some sort of goddamn secret that this is a weapon that she uses on a regular basis. Dave McClain, as usual, just calls the cheating action here, but he doesn't do anything about it, even though that we know that he can. So Tormenta gets up on the apron, and she is kicked off of it again. Like I said, it was a running theme here that for whatever reason, she just could not see anybody barreling towards her to cause her damage. And we got the guys at ringside overacting like, hey, come on, get up, get up. Now, other than the distraction that they didn't interfere, let's go ahead and say that Lana Starr and Holly Swag did not interfere. They walked out, but they didn't interfere. And other than that, they didn't do anything yet. Miami Sweet Heat regained control basically on their own. There was no reason. And to his credit, Zane at least called out that they didn't need the help. And I was happy that he did that. I was like, at least that got covered. They didn't need the help because they weren't in a position that they needed help. In fact, they were pretty much set up for their finisher. The Fab Jab. They had put Tormenta down after she got kicked 4 or 5 times off of the apron. They get Aussie. She's down on the mat. And they do their normal setup. She's like, all right, go ahead. And Lindsay hooks her up. She's got in sidewalk slam position. Laura's going up to the top. And then here comes Hot Spot like, hey, take this soccer rocks and smack her in the head with it. Laura, like an idiot, takes it and then comes down with this thing. Now, let's pause to say, what were you expecting to do? Even if she hit her with this blatant object with the referee standing right there watching it. So what was this supposed to accomplish? Why is she jumping up on the apron to help her anyway? And what would Lori assume that I need to do this for? I have gotten on the wild for people not having good finishers or a finisher that hasn't been established. But I neglected to talk about the Fab Jab because at least they have been once they started utilizing it, that has been the finish. And they've already set the tone for it. We hit this thing, the match is generally done. No one's kicked out of it. So we know that this is a finish. They already had it set up. It was already in play. Holly gets up, gives her the thing. She's like, all right, I'll take it. And Lindsay, I guess, repositions Aussie so that she can smack her in the head. Again, stupid because the referee's standing right there. So if they did it, it should have, I should say, constituted disqualification. Lindsay repositions Aussie. Lori comes off the top with the Saga Rocks and then nails her own sister in the head because she is now moved out of the way, Aussie did, and caused her to hit her own sister. Somehow or another, she hurt her own hand doing this, did Lori. Like she hits her, she's like, oh, my hand. I was like, what did you do that would cause that to happen? Because if she had hit her target, she still would have hurt her hands. The way that she came down, assumably. So I don't know what that was or what it was for. None of it, that just seemed like a pointless segment or a pointless portion of the match. So she is screaming about her hands, but is well conscious enough to go over and give the weapon back to Holly Swag. Ozzy's waiting. Lori comes in. She tries to clothesline her. She ducks underneath and then just leaps into the cutter that is waiting on her from Princess Aussie. And 1, 2, 3, for whatever reason, whenever they got to drop a fall, it seems like it's Lori that does it. Then Lana Starr's on the outside. It's like, she has a look of shock and all like, what? What happened? And Holly looks like she's trying to explain, I didn't mean to, or whatever the case may be. But now we've got new number one contenders, Princess Aussie and Tormenta. And we saw the B-roll with them two with the belts 5 months ago, so I can only assume that they're going to win. I don't know if it'll be in this particular match that they're getting, but I have to assume that they may get it. The other spoilers that have existed on the Wild have come true. We saw Penelope Pink and Holly Swag with the belts in B-roll a couple of months back too. And lo and behold, look at what we got. We got them as tag team champions. But as this is ending and we see the number one contenders, all of them leave together. All the heels leave together. It's not like there's some sort of problem. It's not like they're, hey, what the fuck? What do you none of that's going on. It's just, hey, what happened? It's like casual conversation as they drag Lindsay off. I don't know. Were they supposed to put the line in the video package that the Fab Four was broken up? Was that supposed to be in there? Or is this just another case of just show inconsistency? And it feels very inconsistent. So I don't know where it is that they are going with this. It does feel like it's not good quality control first. It feels like that. Like no one's gone through to check and see what this is, how they were supposed to do it. Did this match up the actions that were taking place later? You could probably forgive that if they didn't do this so consistently. That's the one thing that they are consistent on. They are consistent in their inconsistency. The match also relied on running over there and attacking Tormenta one too many times. I mean, it's kind of a overused thing in general. And while I don't know if I've seen anybody use it as much in a singular match. So we will move on from that. I don't know why Holly Swag and Lana Star would come to ringside anyway. Are they trying to repair their relationship? If so, why have we not gotten any sort of setup for that? Going back to that video package, if we're going off of what the voiceover said, they wouldn't have been cool with them at all. They're broken up for good. Where was that? This does not feel like for good. And why are they using this outdated B-roll footage? It is my new broken record thing. Why are they going with this outdated B-roll footage? It is very clear that Princess Aussie is not a blonde anymore. So why are we using that one in particular? If you ain't going to get updated footage to put and use for it, then don't use it. I get it. We got the footage and the shot, so let's just use that. But it's not necessary. It's not necessary that you have to throw up the B-roll over top of them walking into the ring. A few things Wild just does not do well is injury angles or controversy. Neither one of those things they do well. Both of them are always underperformed. Or they'll do the very bare minimum of it and hope that it somehow hooks you. They are terrible in trying to get some sort of heat on anybody or anything. This thing with the Fab Four, it looked like it was going to be some sort of issue between the group, but now I'm not sure. The closest we did get the shoving of team members on the mat, and I thought that was good. We got the footage of them when they went to their locker room. I thought that was good. It was when I said it was the job of the talent. They were trying to make subpar material, trying to make it work. But this somewhat negates that. It doesn't feel like the bitter breakup that it was somewhat portrayed to be initially. There was no bitterness there. There wasn't even an explanation of why Lana Star would be there, having had this fallout allegedly on camera. Speaking of which, what happened to Top Tier's fallout from like 2 weeks ago that they showed in the B-roll? Long forgotten. Inconsistent. It's an inconsistent show. So now we are on the verge of the next episode. I've already gotten the press release for that. So why don't we give this a read and see where exactly they're going from this point out. Hopefully it'll be something interesting, but who knows. So this is the preview for the next episode. Season 3, episode 34, Three's Not Company. And a long-awaited long-awaited. When did they announce this? A week ago? Long-awaited. Anyway, let me keep my opinion to myself. All right. In a long-awaited triple threat showdown, matchmaker David McClain pits Santana, Garrett, Genesis, and Paola, the Colombian GOAT, against one another for a shot at taking the championship title from IQ superior Samantha Smarts, the Classmaster. The Albanian grappler Xena Phoenix is dead set on teaching Top Tier's Coach Campanelli a hard lesson about being a ruthless thug and almost destroying the careers of countless fellow superheroes. And by countless, I guess she means 2. Chainsaw and Daisy Lane go head-to-head with Roxy Fierce, who joins forces with Chantel Chella until her sister Foxy Fierce pulls through her injuries. What injuries? What injuries? I'm sorry to be stopping in the middle of this, but what injuries? When did they talk about this? When did that happen? Good Lord. And meanwhile, Holiday sets out to prove that violence is for everyone while facing Heavy Metal Sister Fury in singles action. Okay, so yeah, this long-awaited triple threat. That, I mean, it may be good. I'm sure Santana Garrett was going to have her working boots on that day. And it sounds more like this is the title for Samantha Smart rather than Classmaster, the way they phrase it. Xena Phoenix and Coach Campanelli. I expect the same thing that Xena Phoenix normally does. She'll probably tap Coach out, but then get beaten up afterwards or something like that. I don't know. For being a ruthless thug and destroying the careers of countless fellow superstars. Even their press is just overblown and ridiculous. What countless fellow superheroes? You got one person that had a subpar injury angle. The other one was just, showed up on crutches. Chantel and Chella, I guess, is just the go-to fill-in tag team partner for whoever needs a tag team partner. So we got Chainsaw and Daisy Lane versus Roxy and Chella. I would have liked to seen Roxy grow and kind of morph into being a bigger single star, because I don't think this thing gonna work out with Foxy. She seems like another one, like I got some other things to do, so I'm gonna have to take off. And then the Holiday at Fury match, we've seen that a couple of times. It's not gonna matter one way or the other who wins or who loses in that. They've already had their rivalry, and they've already had their feud, and at this point, honestly, I don't even remember who won. I just do not. It was probably that little of importance to me to retain that information. But that's it. That is the preview or the press release that they sent out for what we have to look forward to in the very next episode. I am sure that they are happy that they're getting all this content to fill out their airtime across the board on these multiple stations, and have something that can run on the Pluto station that they have that runs 24 hours a day. And I know that's a significant chunk of why getting the amount of episodes that they're getting means something. They're doing, with the exception of a clip show, a new episode every week. So maybe it'll work out for them in that regard. Or at least it'll work out for the management. I doubt if it'll work out for the talent. Anyhow, we will move on out of here and get into the outro of my show. And that is to say, listen, if you are checking us out on any podcast platform, then there's a good chance that you are listening to us on greater podcast platforms everywhere, because that's where we're available. Greater podcast platforms everywhere. You can always leave a review on wherever it is that you're at. If you're on YouTube, then you would do the YouTube things like share and subscribe. And if you, for whatever reason, cannot find either of these things, the video or the podcast audio files, I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you can't, you know what you can do. You can go to WPNWrestling.com. It is a focal point and centerpiece for everything that's going on with the WPN. Speaking of videos that run 24 hours a day, that's what we got there. A video that runs 24 hours a day, going into the archives, digging through our stuff and beyond. but it features some matches of talent that go back to 2013 with me and some that have moved on to bigger, better, greener pastures. And of course, all podcast episodes drop there as well. And having said that, and having getting myself prepared to sit through the next episode of WoW and hoping that it does not somehow overly offend me. I'm sure it will on one level or another, but hopefully that it will not overly offend me. I will get my mind right so that I can watch it when it airs. And on that note, we're going to close this thing out. And thank you for tuning in again. And I close with this, that this is Mr. Green saying that this is Mr. Green saying so long, and we will see you on the next go-round. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the WPN's Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. If you have questions or comments, please contact us via our Facebook or our YouTube channel at the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. If you're new to the WPN, feel free to subscribe to our channel and like our page. We appreciate your support. Thank you again for listening.